Boy, there were some quarterbacks that got pumped up and some that got roughed up. We're going to start with one right off the bat that had a lot to prove, and he didn't, right here on Locked On NFL Draft. Let's go.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are looking live at Las Vegas. I've always wanted to say that because Brent Bessberger is one of my favorites, and I'm actually in Las Vegas, so I can say that I'm at least coming to you live from Las Vegas. I am John Harris alongside my cohorts, my pals, my new best buds, Eric Crocker, former NFL, AFL defensive back. He's hanging out in Cali. And then my man, Ryan Tracy, at Ryan Tracy on NFL from Rogue Analytics. And he's in his, well, he's the only one really at this point that's actually in his normal recording place. So Ryan, you might have to hold it down if everything just goes wrong with Wi-Fi and hotels and all that kind of stuff. And, well,
I got this.
We know that you will. Today's episode of Locked On NFL Draft is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players. If they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com. Promo code Locked On. All right, guys. There's only one spot we can start here, and that's with a guy we've talked a lot about, and that's DJ Uiagalelei from Clemson. Was on a really good trajectory. Wasn't Joe Burrow 2019 like, but it was a really solid trajectory. And then all of a sudden it came to a crashing halt against Syracuse, interceptions in the red zone, a fumble that turned into a scoop and score the other way. Eric, I don't know what to make of Cade Klubnik, and that's a discussion down the road because I saw him at Austin Westlake, and this dude is unbelievable. I think what's interesting about this, though, guys, is the fact that Clemson people saw this coming. Clemson people have been talking about when was Cade Klubnik going to take over, and DJ was kind of holding him off. But, Eric, I don't know if that's over now. What do we think about DJ being replaced in yesterday's game and the freshman Klubnik bringing Clemson back to get a win and stay undefeated against Syracuse?
Right. Now, when we say he brought him back, we got to be a little lightly on that. He did provide a spark. He did throw 4 passes, and like my guy Ryan said earlier, he had 6 dropbacks. I think there's another guy that might have contributed just a little bit more to this win. I'm going to let Ryan Tracy handle that one. But as far as it goes with DJ, at the end of the day, he got benched. Now, they could put lipstick on the pig and try to, tell us it's a beautiful woman. But what happened was he did not perform well. The coach benched him and said that we need a spark. And they try to circle back around and say, no, this is our quarterback. He's the leader. He will be our guy. Well, at the end of the day, this game, we need the spark. You didn't look to your leader. You looked to someone else. And to me, that's problematic. I'd say as a prospect, DJ has been a little up and down during this year. And he had a stretch where I'm like, okay, we're talking about a guy where he's making the throws that other guys can't. He has the intangibles other guys don't. What type of prospect is he at this time? Unfortunately, when you start to go backwards a little bit now again, and it's not looking great and your team has to bench you, that is not ideal. So if I'm DJ and he said all the right things after the game, everything that you want to hear from a quarterback that got benched and you want him to take it well, he said those things. But overall, as a prospect, I think if I'm an NFL team and I'm looking to maybe potentially draft him as a quarterback, I'm putting a little bit of a red flag next to this one.
I'll tell you how we can get that red flag gone, though, because, yes, this was bad, and yes, you had to do all these things to get this win. Me, it's what does he do next? How does he recover from getting yanked? That's what I want to know. If I'm an NFL evaluator, I got to know that you're going to have rough patches, especially if you're not the all-star college player that maybe we wanted to see for the last 2 seasons. I got to know that you have the mental fortitude to come back, reset your game, and attack the next opponent just as well as you have in the past. It helps to have a running game that does help you. Shout out to Will Shipley, not draft eligible, but you got to recognize 6 yards of carry, 2 touchdowns. That's who brought the spark when you had to bench DJ.
Well, real quick, Ryan, and I'm asking this, and I know this is kind of spur of the moment off the top of the head, but can you recall, and I'm pretty sure there will be people that can point to a specific moment where there was a quarterback who did get benched, came back, was a guy, everything's fine, got drafted high, but Can you recall that just off the top of your head, just a moment that sticks out to you where that happened and everything was all good?
John's got one because I'm struggling to find one.
Well, you said one word, Eric, that he wasn't drafted high, but he was drafted, and he just turned into the greatest quarterback of all time, and that's Tom Brady. Tom Brady in 1998 and 99
Drew Henson?
had to fight with Drew Henson for everything he was worth. And finally, now this is the one thing that sort of sold the Patriots, was in 1999, the Michigan offense, when Henson would come in, it sort of kind of tilted one way and it was not going well. And at some point, Lloyd Carr just said, look, I know Henson's the future, but Brady's the now. And then for the next 3 or 4 games, he let him to a comeback win against undefeated Penn State. He got the Orange Bowl win against Alabama. There's one. Now, here's the thing. It's one guy. Other than that, I can't think of anybody. It just happens to be the greatest of all time. But it's also why he went 6th round at 199 for that particular reason, because the scouts are thinking, well, wait a second. If he can't beat out the other guy, then how good is he? And I think that's the one thing we're sort of looking at here with Klubnik at Clemson, is the fact that this is a true freshman, 5-star, super stud. But DJ was too. Brady was not that when he went to Michigan. DJ was that when he went to Clemson. But you bring up a great point, Eric, and that is, what guys have we ever seen get benched or have to go through this and then come through the other side, and all of a sudden they're drafted high? That's the key word, is drafted high in this draft. And I think those guys are very, very, very hard to find. The only guys you're going to find are ones with elite traits like 6'5", 235, with a rocket arm. That's what DJ has, and because he has those, maybe he gets a little bit more leeway. Maybe there's a little bit more margin for error because he has some elite traits. But at some point, those scouts are going to say, no way. And you guys know scouts. You know how scouts are. Hey, you're going to draft DJ? You bleep no. That got replaced against Syracuse next. Like that, you know how scouts are. They're going to attack it and say something similar to that as they're getting ready to study DJU. And look, maybe he decides he needs to go back for another year, but there's no guarantee that if he goes back for another year that he's going to be the guy. There's no guarantee.
And is there going to be a better version of him as well? Right. I mean, is what we've seen so far from DJ, at least at Clemson, and maybe he gets to the NFL, gets around maybe some different coaching, they utilize him a different way, and maybe you potentially see a better version of him. But again, I mean, what we've seen so far from Dabo Swinney's ability to get the most out of quarterbacks, or at least put them in advantageous situations for them at Clemson, he's done a really good job of that. So at this point, DJ might be just what we see, and it's kind of a mid-round type guy because of the inconsistencies, not because of the traits. Traits, we're talking about top 5 talent, but kind of a little bit of a roller coaster in the sense of production. That's a little bit more mid-round type.
That's the thing. The key to where he lands is all between the ears. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's how does he attack the game mentally. I think there's still a chance. Let's see what he does.
Yeah, I think one thing that was weird, and I want to go back and double-check that my eyes weren't deceiving me, but there were a couple throws where the ball came out of his hand, and I was like, well, that ball was tipped. And then I went back and watched it like, wait, no, that ball wasn't tipped. And it looked like the ball was like fluttering. There was one time the ball fell out of his hand. There's something going on with his mechanics that are just sort of off a little bit that they've got to be worked on. But I think you guys are right. Right now, boy, it's a mixed bag right now with DJU. But
real quick, the fluttering of the ball, and I talked to my quarterback guy a lot, one of my buddies, Greg Pinelli.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of reasons why that can happen. If you're choking the ball too much, it can come out that way, or maybe if your wrist isn't locked out. And there's a bunch of different things that can contribute to a fluttering ball. But I know those are some of the 2 things that he's pointed out with some other quarterbacks as of late.
We need to get Greg on the show. When we talk quarterbacks, we get to the draft. We need to get Greg as a little guest quarterback appearance at some point. Now, we're going to talk about a couple other quarterbacks that played against one another. One of them we've been talking a lot about. One of them we've sort of dabbled in talking about, but the script flipped yesterday. It was the guy we hadn't been talking about that showed up. We'll talk about that next, but I want to talk to you about the stock market. And I don't want to talk about, all the, Amazon or other these other companies you can buy stock in. I want to talk about the world's first sports stock market. When people talk about investing, I mean, sometimes you're just investing in a company because, well, that's what this guy that knows a guy that knows another guy that maybe knows the stock market told you to invest in. Well, what about investing in something you know? like sports. You can now invest in professional athletes at Prediction Strike. Here's an example. If you invested in Jalen Hurts, now think about Jalen when he was coming into the NFL draft. If you invested in Jalen after 1 year at the Eagles going into 2021, you'd be up 48.2%. Now think about a stock market investment that's up 48.2%. You don't know a lot of these companies. You're just going off of what, Martin Sheen was given to you or Charlie Sheen was given to you with Wall Street. You don't know anything about it, but you know sports, right? So why don't you invest in sports with Prediction Strike? Download the Prediction Strike app and use code LOCKED for a free share when you sign up and make a first deposit of $20 or more. That's promo code LOCKED for a special one-time giveaway. Prediction Strike will choose one person who signs up with code LOCKED and makes a deposit to win 100 free random shares. That could be up to $3,000 if you get lucky and receive Josh Allen shares. My goodness. Invest in what you know on Prediction Strike, the stock market for sports. I want to thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Now, before we dive into Bo Nix v. DTR, I'm sitting in Las Vegas. I mean, this is a destination place. A lot of people are having weddings here. Sometimes they come to Vegas not thinking they're going to get married, and all of a sudden they end up at a little wedding chapel and they get married. Well, do you have the right piece of jewelry for that moment? Whether you're looking to pop the question, milestone to celebrate, or want to let your love sparkle, Blue Nile can help you make your celebrations even more memorable. Come to Vegas, get a piece of jewelry from Blue Nile, and you're good to go. Blue Nile offers the largest selection of independently graded diamonds and pieces priced significantly below traditional retailers. Blue Nile has helped millions of couples create their perfect engagement ring. Their easy online tools let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as setting style. And dudes, I'm telling you right now, who knows anything about what I just said? Nothing. We know nothing. Let Blue Nile do that. Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then help you handcraft her perfect, one-of-a-kind engagement ring. Shop stress-free with Blue Nile's 100% satisfaction guarantee. All Blue Nile orders are insured and shipped for free in discreet packaging. They also offer overnight shipping if you're in a rush. Make your moment sparkle with Blue Nile. Go to BlueNile.com and use code LOCKEDON to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. That's Blue, B-L-U-E, Nile, N-I-L-E. BlueNile.com, code LOCKEDON to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. BlueNile.com, code LOCKEDON. Now, there was definitely a quarterback locked on in Eugene as the Oregon Ducks took on UCLA on Saturday. It was not the one I think we were all expecting. I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson has done a lot this year, Ryan Tracy. He's done a ton, and we've been really excited about what he's been able to do and how he has risen. And our Pac-12 guru, Eric Crocker, has been preaching about DTR and what he's able to do. However, on the flip side of that, Bo Nix had that game against Georgia. And when I talk about that game, I mean he had that game. It was not great. But ever since then, Bo Nix has made play after play after play, and he's gotten Oregon to a point where you look at that Duck offense and think, man, Bo Nix. I don't want to say who knew, but how impressive was Bo Nix on Saturday? And maybe DTR wasn't horrible, but the fact that Bo Nix in a head-to-head matchup was the one that I'm sure a lot of scouts walked out of there and thought, that guy, I like the way he's playing. Your thoughts about Nix in particular, Ryan Tracy?
Well, it was the way that he delivered the ball against that Georgia team early in the season. It just looked a little scatterbrained. Now, obviously, he's a transfer. There's a new system there. It was just a little bit all new. But now, when you look at the way there was the second touchdown, I think was a nice ball fake. Just wrote it, stood in the pocket, turned, delivered the ball. Like smooth, easy, where he's going. Mentally knows the read that he's looking for and can make that pass. I thought the emerging talent that we see in Franklin for him being able to hit over the top, it looks like his deep ball, I think, is improving as we go through this season. He's able to put it in the spot that he needs to put it in. That's something I think, as you look at the leap to the next step, that you want to see him actually improve on. That's he's showing growth despite starting over in Oregon. I think DTR didn't have a terrible game. Let's be honest. He came back down to earth, but Nix is continuing to move ahead in the small details that the scouts want to see.
Eric, I think about Bo Nix, and there's one thing that's probably popped up more often than others. Now, I'm a little bit older than you guys, and when a player transferred way back in the day, that was thought to be a negative thing. Bo Nix transferred from Auburn to go to another opportunity at Oregon. He's taking full advantage of it. We talked about DJ U. Maybe that's something he needs to do to clear his head, get out of Clemson, go somewhere else. I don't know. But the transfer has seemingly worked for Bo Nix. And maybe the scouts don't see that as a negative. Maybe they look at it a little differently. How do you look at the fact that he transferred from Auburn, although he had some issues, but he's gone to Oregon and he's dealt with that adversity and he's come through the other side, making himself into a pro prospect?
I don't think that NFL teams are going to care that he had to transfer or that he just transferred in general, right? Fresh start, new program. Auburn, we see what's going on there right now. They're definitely in a downslide. And if you really nitpick at the guys that are transferred, then you're just not going to like any prospects because every single game I watch, there are tons of guys who were playing on previous teams the year before. So you kind of just have to throw that whole thing out the window, which, again, if we're talking about 3-4 years ago, maybe we put more credence in that. But right now, not at all. I think for him is just, like you said, how he's handling adversity and really just the adversity from the beginning. They got dog walked, no pun intended, by the Georgia Bulldogs. It was not good, and everybody just said, same old Bo Nix. Since then, he has progressively gotten better. Now, the numbers look great. The wins are there. For him, it's always going to be about, or any of these quarterback prospects, the NFL level throws. I think Bo Nix is definitely someone who has a ton of talent. Is he making those intermediate throws into tight coverage? And sometimes you don't get a chance to see that in the college game, but I thought that's where he's been good. On top of that, throwing the ball down the field, there was some really good ball placement, back shoulders, things like that in his past game. And then he's also shown the ability to make plays with his legs as well. So as a prospect, I think he's continuing to get better and better and be viewed in a different light than how he was viewed heading to Oregon, but I am excited to hear about how the scouts actually feel about what he's done in this turnaround for him.
Now, Bo Nix transferred to Oregon to get a new start. A quarterback in the ACC has stayed for seemingly ever, and he's now become, I think, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in this NFL draft. We'll talk about that next, but I want to talk to you about more or less. Every single day you're watching a game, you're watching something happen, and you're thinking, wow, can this guy score more or less than 20 points in a game? Is this guy going to have more or less than 5 assists? Is he going to register more than 50 yards rushing, more or less? Well, Prize Picks, if you go through that, Prize Picks is the perfect opportunity for you. It's daily fantasy made real easy. So let's say today, Sunday, you're watching this or you're listening to this, and you've got, you've got the Chiefs against the Raiders at some point. And you're like, is Patrick Mahomes going to throw for more or less than 300 yards in this game? If you like that action in the action, Prize Picks is for you. All you got to do is pick 2 to 5 players in a multitude of sports. And if they go score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money in any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projection. That's it. You're not going against Ryan, you're not going against Eric, you're not going against me. It's just you versus you. It's like Duke telling Rocky in Rocky 4. It's not you versus Drago. It's you versus you. That's Prize Picks. Prize Picks offers projections in a multitude of sports. Esports, I mean, if that's what you like, they got it. MMA, boxing, obviously college football, NFL. They got it all for you. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code locked on. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code locked on at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. All right, guys, I'm just going to start this third segment, and I'm just going to say it, and I'm going to let you react. And Ryan, Tracy, I'm going to start with you. Sam Hartman, Wake Forest, has turned into a top 5 2023 NFL draft prospect. Am I crazy? Yes or no?
No, you are absolutely correct. I put him in my top 5 about 3-4 weeks ago, and I took a chance at that point. He has proven it since. When you look at the types of throws that he's making, he's getting out to the edges, red zone, hitting the guy as he's crossing out towards the boundary. He actually took one in with his feet this week, which I have not seen in quite a while. that's a nice little plus. You don't have to have that, but when you see Bo Nix doing Bo Nix things, you always want to put a little film out there that says, hey, I can run in if I have to too. I think he's rounding his game out, and obviously the numbers speak for themselves. It's almost a disservice to just look at his numbers because it's a little gaudy when it's 5 touchdowns and 1 interception. He ran one in 313, but he takes care of the ball. He leads his team. Yes, he has a tendency sometimes to put it up for grabs. With A.T. Perry, sometimes you're going to do that. So what I like is that shows the ability to hit guys on crossers, to hit guys where you're putting up the fade, where you're doing all the different things that you're going to be asked to do at the pro level. It's whether it's all efficient enough for the scouts in his mechanics and his size.
I think one of the things that's fascinating is his offense because of that slow read mesh. He's throwing almost every pass from the well. Almost every throw is from the pocket. And he's not going – he's almost a yard beyond the center. It's amazing where he's always throwing from the pocket. Eric Crocker, if I lost my mind, is Sam Hartman in the top 5 of the 2023 NFL draft prospects right now. Not prisoner of the moment. I'm just thinking of everything he's done. He had a great game yesterday against Boston College. And that to me is almost just, putting the candles on the birthday cake for me because I've seen a lot from him. What are your thoughts about Sam Hartman?
I think a lot of the scouts are going to want to marry the traits and what he does with his arm from the ability, to make all the throws. And I think that part there's still going to be a little bit of question marks on some of the throws he can make. All right, we talked about Bo Nix, but in that game there was also another guy, DTR. And DTR did not play his best game. But down the stretch there were some throws that he made where it's like, whew, that is a big boy throw. Layer throws over linebackers, driving the throw out from outside the numbers far hash. All right, another throw in between multiple people where he's firing the ball in there into an extremely tight space, and you just see the arm strength, the velocity, on top of the athletic ability that DTR has. With Sam Hartman, you have to take a step back with some of those things. Yes, extremely accurate. I love his ball placement. I think what he did in the Clemson game really showed the upside of what he potentially can be as a prospect, but the NFL teams, they're not going to care about what you did against FSU. They're not going to care about, what you did against Boston College in the sense of the numbers. They're going to look at how exactly is he making these throws, and then how does that translate over to the NFL level. So if there's some balls that are floating just a little bit, or, oh, man, our DBs would have been on that. Oh, that ball would be going the other way. Or, oh, man, he can't throw from this far hash here and make this throw consistently. Those are things that might knock him down just a little bit. But I think hovering around the top 5, I don't think you're wrong for saying that.
I'll tell you the other thing that helps him out is that he is doing that offense. He is running that offense. He is that offense. Leading rusher for them, 36 yards. DTR has Zach Charbonnet putting up 151. Yeah. So the balance there, I think, lends itself towards DTR being able to do more with that particular offensive set. Sorry, John.
Who he reminds me of, and again, I'm not trying to get caught in prisoner of the moment, but from a size, athletic ability, confidence ability, confidence is if it's ability, that's it. Bailey Zappi. And the difference, I think, is that Sam Hartman has, I think, better throwing tools. I think Bailey does have to float a few balls into areas where I think Sam can throw it with a little bit more juice. Now, he doesn't have a DTR arm. I think DTR has got a cannon for an arm. I think there are other quarterbacks that throw it very, very well. I think Bryce throws it well, CJ Stroud, et cetera. Sam doesn't have a cannon, but he's got a good enough arm. And I think Bailey Zappi's showing, look, you don't have to have a plus arm to be able to come in and have success. Success if you have confidence, if you know what the heck you're doing. And here's the third one that really is not even on the player. Do you have a system and a program around you with a coaching staff that knows what it's doing, which it's weird to say that about Matt Patricia and Joe Judge and the Patriots offense, but they know what they're doing. And obviously Bill Belichick leads that thing, and it's really showing in the way Bailey Zappi plays. Now, we'll see how much Bailey plays going forward. But the fact is, and the fact remains, Sam Hartman could do things like that, I think, when he gets to the league. Gentlemen, that was a fun discussion, and we're going to continue that discussion this week. We'll have our Friday night draft. We'll come up with a topic a little bit later in the week. So you'll definitely want to tune in because last week's Friday night draft was absolutely awesome, except for the fact that Ryan Tracy tried to bring Jared Allen back to the NFL as a current player, which actually there's probably a team around the league that could probably use Jared Allen right now. But it was a fantastic draft, and Ryan, your draft was great. So I'm just picking. So we thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. Gentlemen, We don't always have to do a show in our brand new, beautiful studios where we can do them. Sometimes you got to do them on the road. But we show up and we show out and we get it done. For Eric, for Ryan, I'm John. We'll see you next time right here on Locked On NFL Draft. Let's go.
Peace.